Hey, it's Jansen, and I'm gonna be talking about the West Memphis 3 today. Um, this is for episodes 1 through 4. Um, yeah, from the first episode, this whole series I know is just gonna piss me off so much that, as Mr. McHenry said, this is one of the greatest fumbles in just forensics and it's a big fumble overall for the CJ system. Like, this was it was infuriating. I guess I'll go on about the stuff that particularly either irked me or just kind of weirded me out. So first of all, we have the incompetence, in my opinion, the incompetence of the officers for not taking this case seriously. It's understandable to a point. It's understandable to a very specific point. You have 3 elementary school boys, okay? And these elementary school boys are told to be home by specific times. That I think the latest was like 8 o'clock, and the earliest was like 5:30. And if they're not home within a couple hours, obviously that's a bit concerning, but that's not like call the cops concerning just yet. Maybe I could definitely see it from a parental perspective of my kid's not home. Where is he? Yeah, after a few hours, especially after nightfall, like 8, if your kid's not back yet, that's cause for concern. And the officer who was called, the lady, I can't remember her name for the life of me. I almost want to say it's Regina, but I don't think it's Regina. Sorry. Just like writing it off as like, oh, kids are missing, whatever. You'll find them in 45 minutes or whatever. And then the whole thing with the restaurant, that was another thing that really irked me. That really, really annoyed me, was the lack of follow-up from the officer who got called there after the black guy was seen bleeding and like completely incoherent in a bathroom stall. When you have a guy that's that suspicious, like, if I remember correctly, the kids hadn't been found yet, but this guy is covered in has mud on him. He's got mud on him. He's got blood on him. And completely incoherent. Seems almost mental at that point. Which, could attribute to why, like, he's incoherent, But it's, especially when you have a missing kids report, and then you have coincidentally this random guy who's muddy, covered in blood, and then the next morning you find a bunch of kids' bodies in a river. The fact that those 2 dots aren't going together at all for the officers in that short of a time period is incredibly suspicious. Now, I'm going off on a little tangent here. I think that was utterly incompetent. Like, for the guy that responded to the scene, he was taking a witness testimony, like, a lady and her daughter were going to the bathroom before grabbing some dinner, and the lady comes out, like, right away. She's like, there's a guy in the women's restroom, and the guy working the shift that night goes in there, and he looks, he's like, oh, there's a guy in here. He's covered in mud, and he's defecated all over himself, and he's got blood on the wall. That's definitely not suspicious to anyone. That really pissed me off, was how, if there's a guy who's completely incoherent, he's covered in mud and blood, whether it be his or someone else's, that, regardless of the situation of the 3 missing kids, which at this point you could chalk up to a coincidence of these 2 things occurring, but when you have that sort of situation where you have this guy in a bathroom stall covered in mud, blood, seems like he's completely mental, and he's got crap all over himself, it's like, the fact that that's not more of a concern up front really irked me. like, how do you have... Yeah, I'm not just going to keep repeating the same thing. I think it was complete incompetence on the officers for just not really acknowledging it or even writing reports. Like, I think, yeah, it pissed me off. Let's see, what else was there in this episode? The fourth episode, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, I believe was the episode title. It was talking a lot about how if this guy that was in the bathroom stall were to kill these kids, he has an hour and a half time gap where in between the last sighting of the kids and him popping up at the Bojangles. So in the episode, it was talking about this part. Actually, I was fine with this. This is completely fine. But it was another thing that actually made me really think. So we have this guy who's incoherent. He's bleeding, and there's a 90-minute gap in between last sighting the kids here and the Bojangles over here. And then the guy, the host of the podcast, is talking about how with the 90-minute gap, is it humanly possible to have committed the murders, bound the kids, took off their clothes, knocked them unconscious, drowned them? He didn't even mention the mutilation of that one kid, of the kid who got basically castrated. He didn't. I don't think he mentioned that, but that I would throw that also into it because I'm imagining that takes time, which is of the essence in this case. And we have this guy who has killed the kids. We don't know if this guy in the Bojangles did it, but he has 90-minute gap to do all that and then make his way down through the creek, through the bayou, which is the most efficient route and the only route that even makes sense to get to the Bojangles in the time period. And the guy who hosted it, I think he said he was 6'1", and he was at, the water was at nipple height. Like, he waded through it, like, he went there to wade through it, and it was at nipple height. Or, wait, he didn't wade through it. It was, I think it was guesstimated about how high it was, based on witness testimony or something. But, wading through, it'd be about nipple height for him, which is probably in the, I don't know, height. I don't know, 5'7", 5'8" range, maybe. I'm not too great with measurements. But that... And then, with that, going more into it, the guy had... He was wet, and he was covered in mud and blood, but the guy didn't report that he was sopping wet. Like, he was not drenched. And the only way that the guy discussed... Like, he could have walked along the bank of the river, but then he gets to a train track area, I think is what it was. He gets there, and then he has no choice but to go through this water in order to get to the Bojangles. So he would have had to have been sopping wet. So in that case, it seems quite, I mean, it's probable, but highly unlikely that the guy did it. I mean, obviously, it's a very, very weird coincidence that these two things are occurring in such a close time period, especially thinking about, you know, the murders. Yeah, that's about all I have for episodes 1 through 4. I really like this podcast. This podcast is extremely interesting. I feel like it's going to be a really fun listen for the next 11 to 12 weeks, depending on how long it takes us to finish it. But, yeah, that's about all I have to say. Thanks for watching.